Hello, this is Monty Perrin. A couple years ago I did a YouTube on how to hunt turkeys in the early season when they're normally henned up. I'm not going to recap that now. If you want to see that video, you can find it on the Outdoor Fowlers channel. It's called How to Hunt Turkeys Early Season Tactics. But what I want to do is share some strategies on things that you can do as the season progresses, because there's some subtle changes that you can make in the way you try to get after these birds. And the reason you need to do that is because they're changing. Their cycles are changing. What they're doing is changing. To begin with, early in the season, most gobblers, particularly your dominant birds, are going to have their harems together. They're going to spend all day with them. They're going to roost with them. They're going to do a lot of strutting, not as much gobbling. They just gobble normally in the morning on the roost, just to let the hens that they can't see know where they're at. And once they fly down and get together, his job is to strut and breed pretty much, and that'll go on for several weeks, usually normally in most states before the seasons even open up. And I think most biologists and states have set it up that way because they want their birds to be bred, their hens to be bred before the season opens up and you start taking those gobblers out of the flock. But as that season progresses, the hens are going to start doing some different things. Now they're bred, it's time to start building nests, laying eggs, and incubating. And there's no gobbler activity involved in that. So what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing gobblers that maybe had a good harem or flock of hens with them early in the season. Those numbers of hens are going to start dwindling. In my state, if you see a flock of gobblers around here, or a gobbler with a flock of hens with 6, 8, 9 hens. I recently, just not far from where I'm at right now here at my home, I saw a gobbler strutting with 6 hens. We're about 2 weeks from the start of our season, and that's about normal. 6, 8, 9 hens around here. That's pretty much a gobbler with his harem. In other states where there's more birds, you might see bigger harems. But he's going to spend most of his time. He don't have to do anymore. He's done his job. He's got his harem together. His job is to strut, look pretty, and breed. But as those hens get bred, they're going to have to start laying eggs. Instinctively, they know they need to go out and start building nests. They need to start laying eggs, and then they're going to start incubating. And when that happens, they're going to start getting away from the gobblers. So you're going to find more and more gobblers with fewer and fewer hens. That happens as the season progresses, and as we get into the season, it happens as the day progresses, because what you're going to see is many times gobblers will gobble 2 or 3 times or several times on the roost, get their flock, that whatever is left of their flock together. They'll spend some time with them in the morning. Then those hens will start peeling off and going to work on their nests, peeling off and going to lay their eggs. And you're going to find gobblers that all of a sudden are not going to have the hens they had a couple hours ago. So the biggest thing I can encourage you to do, and one of the things that I've done for years now, is to hunt on up into the day. I typically like to go out and hear that first morning, that when the lights come on, when the owls are calling and the crows are calling and the gobblers are gobbling, because even if you can't do anything with them, then at least you know where they are. So a lot of times I'll go out and maybe try to work a bird right off the roost. If I can't get anything to happen, I might go get a biscuit or a cup of coffee or something, and come back to that spot later on in the day and see what I can make happen. A lot of times, and I've had this happen many times, where you'll go in and make a call, and that gobbler's lonely now. His hens are gone, and he thinks, well, one still loves me, so here he'll come a running, okay? Or he'll come, maybe not running, but he'll show up. And those are some pretty good hunts. Matter of fact, years ago, I read an article called High Noon Gobblers. And I went out thinking, okay, according to this article, and what many people who teach tactics or write articles, whatever, what they don't tell you is, if you get a tactic that works 2 out of 10 times, 3 out of 10 times, that's a really good tactic. Normally, it may not just be 1 out of 10 times. The point is that it works, but you got to be out there doing it to make it work. My first time trying to do what I'd read this article called High Noon Gobblers, and my first time out after I read that article, I thought I was going to hit my call and the turkeys were going to knock me down because they're lonely. Well, that ain't the case. But if you get out there and you're calling, you're prospecting, many times I'll find a route where there's a path. I used to have a place where I was in a hunt club, and there was a 5 or 6 mile path that went through this club. And I would walk that path early. I'd start early in the morning, and I'd listen for birds right at light. If I didn't hook up, I'd start walking and calling. A lot of people call it prospecting. I would use hen calls. I'd stop, I'd take a slate call, and I'd give it a pop, pop, gok, 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 gok. quack. And if I hooked up, then I'd set up and see if I could work that bird. A lot of times I'd get on 2 or 3 or 4 birds before I find the one that wanted to dance. Then you go from 0 to hero. But the important thing there is to stay out, because a lot of people go out in that first couple hours in the morning. If they don't get the success they want, they're done. If you go back to that video I made on how to hunt turkeys in the early season, if you'll stay with those tactics and then just continue to prospect and walk and call and try to find birds that want to play, want to come to your call, several things are going to happen. One is you might hook up and that'd be your hunt for the day. But you also just you're going to constantly be out there, you're going to constantly be putting yourself in situations where you can add to your information, and you're constantly collecting data. You're going to get in situations where you know you've seen birds here and you got this feel where you're seeing birds there. And that way you know as the season progresses that maybe you just need to go set up and call a little bit and just be there before they get there. But if you're out there and you start out in the morning just using those same tactics that I talked about in the how to hunt turkeys in the early season, and then progress that into maybe a prospecting by walking and calling, and then collecting data and locating places where you expect birds to show up, then you can show up and be there when they show up, and you can have some pretty good hunts. These are tactics that have worked for me. The important thing is to stay after them, stay aggressive, stay positive, keep believing, and know that you can go from 0 to hero in just a few seconds. I hope these tactics, if you get out there and use them, I know they'll serve you well. Thank you for listening. This is Monty Perrin.